Good afternoon. Thank you so much for talking to me, sir. So we are talking about water scarcity in the country. Part of the explanation is that there is a drought and South Africa is a water scarce country. To what extent does that account for the shortages that communities face, and to what extent are these related to infrastructure buckling under the weight of demand?
Okay, so the issue of drought affects everybody. As you know, that is a natural process. But then what I want to allude to is the fact that as every country, we need to be ready for that, because we cannot predict such things to that level. So what is important is to have our water governance systems in place and to prepare for such disasters. So what I can say is that we need to be in a situation whereby we're waiting for such situations and we are ready to deal with the problem, because water is a very sensitive issue. So it does affect us in a way, but then if we are ready for it, the extent at which it affects us can be alleviated a little bit.
So when you say we need to be ready for droughts because they are natural occurrences that we can't predict, what are you talking about? Are you talking about such efficiencies as catchment, storage, and harvesting wherever possible what other water resources we can?
Yes, we need to look at other resources of water. I mean, if we struggle a lot with energy, and energy is looking at the number of resources, energy resources, we can do the same with water. And then we can take advantage of the fact that we have got underground water that we need to access. So what we need to do is to come up with technologies or ways of accessing this water. I mean, we cannot sit and say, well, we don't have rain anymore, but we still need water. So water is a resource that can be recycled. For instance, we have a lot of water that is trapped in pollution. What are we doing about that? There should be some research that is going into that to make sure that we release that water for our use, for different uses. So even the storages that you are talking about, I mean, we need to take into consideration the fact that we can actually store water for future use. And then those are the things that we haven't been entertaining so far. So we need to look at things like that. I mean, if we can do it with energy, we can do it with water.
When you talk about water that is stuck in pollution, are you talking about such water as acid mine drainage?
Yeah, you see, we've got I mean, about 188 megaliters of water of AMD that is stuck in pollution, that is being released into our water resources. Instead of us getting value out of that water, we're actually using the same water to pollute our systems. So what we need to do is to come up with the technology, viable and sustainable technologies that will actually treat the AMD, and then we can start looking at AMD as a new source of water instead of looking at it as a nuisance or a problem. And there are other wastewater treatment technologies that are available to treat our domestic wastewater to a quality that can be used for instance, for irrigation and other purposes other than drinking. So there are a number of technologies. I mean, the technologies are there, but we need to put these technologies together as a country to come together and say, who's got what and what can it be used? You know, right. What can it be used for?
Patrick,
so,
lastly,
yeah.
I'm completely out of time, but tell me about the whole issue around water desalination. We saw the Western Cape experimenting with it in the peak of their drought. Is that the future we are headed into?
Well, I can say that. I mean, given the drought that we are suffering, we are headed to that. I mean, there are other countries that are already ahead. A country like Israel, they prepared themselves and they made sure that the issue of energy in desalination is dealt with. So if we can really prioritize these technologies and then make sure that the research is done in a way that we are trying to reduce the amount of energy that goes into desalination, then I see desalination as a future.
All right, thank you so much. Patrick Hlabela, Senior Researcher at the CSIR. There you have it. We've been talking solutions as well. I mean, he's made quite a number of suggestions as to where we look for water in a water-scarce country that's prone to be hit by drought from time to time.